Britain have? Good morning.
Well, at the moment, we're relying on the jet propulsion from London and the southeast, and it's great. It's great that in London we have an amazing global city. It's great that the southeast and the east of England have so many productive companies, but the rest of the United Kingdom is not firing as energetically as it should economically. That's denying people in the North and Midlands the opportunities they need. We're setting out to put that right.
But how many other jet engines are there to fire?
As I say, it's two. So London and the southeast is one. The rest of the United Kingdom is the other.
So the rest of the United Kingdom only accounts for one engine. Goodness me. What will we learn today then? What are those levelling up ideas we'll hear?
We're going to specifically ensure that we close the pay and productivity gap between London and the South East and the rest of the UK. We're going to increase research and development spending outside London and the South East. That's the fuel that will power our economic propulsion in the future. We're going to make sure that we have good public transport infrastructure in all our major cities. We're going to promote digital connectivity. We're going to end illiteracy and innumeracy. We're going to make sure that the number of people successfully completing high-quality skills training is increased. We're going to close the life expectancy gap between richer and poorer areas. We're going to make sure that people feel a greater sense of pride in the communities that they love. We're going to increase home ownership and also increase the quality of rented housing. We're going to cut crime, and we're going to make sure that more local leaders have more control over the communities that they serve.
Lofty ambitions and goals. Credit to you. Is there a timetable, Secretary of State?
Yes. We've set out that we need to achieve these goals by 2030, and we're also setting out later today some of the detailed ways in which our progress towards those goals can be measured.
So illiteracy and numeracy will be things of the past by 2030, Secretary of State?
Yes.
You also talk about local leaders, and you again wrote in the article that you want to create new mayors and strengthen the hand of local leaders across the country. In England currently, allowing for metro and city mayors, how many do we have?
We have 10 metro and city mayors.
No, regional metro and city mayors in total, the two put together. How many might we have?
Oh, how many might we have in the future? Well,
No. How many do we have now? If you put regional metro mayors and city mayors together, we have a total of...
we have 10 leaders of mayoral combined authorities.
And we have 10 regional metro mayors and 15 city mayors. We have 25 in total. Can I share with you some of the enthusiasm that people have had? In Doncaster, the last turnout for the mayoral election was 27.7%. In Salford, 28.1%. In Liverpool, 30%. People view this as exciting as going to the dentist. Why would you suggest they want more?
Well, I love my dentist, and it's always fun when I visit her.
We'll talk more about that in a moment, but let's come back to this.
But the key thing is that...
The key thing is people aren't interested, Mr. Gove.
No.
I don't know what you think this will bring, because people don't bother to turn out.
They certainly do. And the more power that mayors have, and the more accountable they are, the more committed people are to... playing a part in deciding who their mayor would be. So if you've got the election for London's mayor, the mayor with the most powers in this country, nobody would say that the race between Sadiq Khan and Sean Bailey or between Boris Johnson and Ken Livingstone was a peripheral sideshow in which you or I would not have an interest.
I thought we weren't
if we were
talking
living
about
in London,
Mr. Gove. I'm so sorry. I thought you were here to talk about the rest of the country. I've clearly got something wrong. Because you want to talk about London,
we want to do...
Yeah,
well, what we
want
we're
talking about London then. I thought you were talking about levelling up, but you just want to talk about the London mayoralty.
Because we want more mayors to be more like London's mayor.
But you're getting 27% turnout in Doncaster and 28% in Salford. People don't care.
That's because mayors in other parts of the country don't have the same powers that London's mayor does. If you have any conversation about politics or about transport in the West Midlands or in Middlesbrough, then people will be talking about Andy Street and Ben Houchen. Ben Houchen will have, I think, more name recognition in Teesside than almost any other politician apart from Boris Johnson. Similarly, if you're in Birmingham in the West Midlands, Andy Street will be the person that you will look to when you're thinking about how things are transformed. And we want more Ben Houchens, more Andy Streets, more mayors like Boris was when he was mayor of London.
What about more Joanne Andersons, a Labour mayor? Do we have more of them? Or more Norma Redferns? Are we happy with them?
Well, actually, in Liverpool, you've got Jo Anderson Joanne Anderson in Liverpool itself, and you've also got Steve Rotherham as the Metro Mayor of the wider Greater Liverpool area.
Right.
I think you have different structures in different places.
Okay.
But as I say, the more power to local leaders means more interest in local government and more accountability for the decisions that are taken by people who serve our communities.
How much is all this going to cost, Mr. Gove?
Well, we've committed billions of pounds to levelling up.
Might I ask how many?
There's a £4.8 billion levelling up fund.
Right.
We've spent £1.7 billion of that already. But that's just one of the tools in government's hands.
Of course, some of this money had already been announced, hadn't it, by Rishi Sunak? So this is money that's already been spent once. Is that fair?
There's a difference between Rishi announcing that he's going to give me money and me spending it. There's a difference between you signing a contract with LBC and then spending the admittedly rather small sums that
Indeed.
they give you when you get your cash at the end of every month. So it's fair enough. It's a perfectly standard argument. Where's the money coming from? When's it being spent? But if you are in Wolverhampton or Sheffield and you're getting new cash to invest in your city centre, that is new money. It may have been the case that a sharp-eyed political journalist will note that it was moved from one government account to another in October or November, but the reality is that it's new money that makes a difference when you get it in your community.
The government is under fire over financing. You'll be aware of this, Mr. Gove. The front page of a newspaper this morning, the Daily Mail, they talk about £4.3 billion lost to COVID loan fraud, £8.7 billion on PPE failings. That's more than the £12 billion that needs to be brought back with the NI tax hike. Can I put it to you, not you personally, but your government, the government of which you're a senior member, is financially incompetent?
No. Each of those issues...
How would you describe this then, sir?
Firstly, on PPE, there was a global race to get PPE when the price was sky high because everyone needed it. We were in that market, hustling and securing what was required for those at the front line. Don't make any apology for that. On fraud, Rishi has been determined to claw back from the crooks and the corrupt any misallocation of money, and he's doing a fantastic job in making sure that we do go after those who try to defraud the taxpayer.
You've tried to go after people in the cladding scandal and you've promised money. I have to tell you, we were talking about this earlier and I took a phone call from a woman called Rachel Loftus in Leeds. I don't expect you to be aware, of course, of all the intricacies of this young woman's personal case, but she has set this question to you.
Does he really understand the reality of what this is like for people living in these buildings and facing these bills? Reassuring me with words is not enough. I need actual protection in law that will tell me that this bill will not come to me.
And
because
when he says...
all of my experience today has been that these bills have come to me and I've paid over and over again.
And I need to tell you that she has to find that Rachel has bills of £112,617. She has to find £28,000 in 25 days. It's very confusing, but it appears that the funds that you have been available, she and many others have fallen through the cracks. Mr. Gove.
Yes, there's much more that we need to do. I've had meetings with developers, cladding manufacturers. I've told them that they need to contribute in order to make sure that people like Rachel are not facing these bills, and we will legislate if necessary in order to ensure that Rachel doesn't have to pay.
She's only got 25 days, though, Mr. Gove. Can I at least pass details of this case to one of your colleagues so you can look at it for me?
Totally.
All right, I'm grateful for that. Last couple of matters. You will be aware there would appear to be another party under investigation at Number 10. This is a Prosecco party that the Prime Minister is believed to attend. This was a gathering on the 14th of January. What exactly was going on at Number 10? Is effectively, if we have all these local mayors, will the role of Number 10 Downing Street just to be party planners?
I don't know what went on that day. The Met are investigating. Once they've concluded their investigation, then all of us can form an appropriate judgment.
But it'll be great to have these mayors, because then you can just party. He can just party at Number 10, really, and just leave the work to the mayors, can't he?
No one works harder in government than the Prime Minister, and I've seen him, during the course of the pandemic, go line by line through our delivery programme for vaccination in order to make sure that there were jabs in arms. He was interrogating relentlessly but fairly the people who were responsible for the delivery of that programme. That's why we're the country which has emerged first and fastest from the pandemic in Europe. And, every time that I've seen the Prime Minister over the course of the last 2 years, he has been relentlessly focused on delivery.
OK. Lastly, it is reported that Sir Linton Crosby might be providing some kind of advice to Prime Minister. We don't need to advise you of the prowess of Sir Linton and his firm. But one notable journalist today says that, of Sir Linton, fun he ain't. The man is a human hangover and not just a mild headache and craving for a fry-up type. He's a full-blown Jaeger bomb thumper. Your view of Sir Linton Crosby, Mr. Gove?
Well, that view is from Sarah Vine, the Daily Mail's finest columnist.
Indeed. Clearly no fan, one has to say, Mr. Gove.
Sarah writes brilliant. Sarah writes brilliantly, any attempt on my part to emulate Sarah's skill with language would be inadequate. All I would say is...
Do you find him fun at a party?
He's a bonza cobber.
And what does he bring to the dynamic, lastly, Mr. Gove?
Linton, he tells it like it is, and if you don't understand exactly what he means, then he can explain his views in words with few syllables, but maximum impact.
Mr. Gove, best wishes to you. Thank you for appearing on LBC. Secretary of State for Levelling Up Housing and Communities, appearing on LBC where the news is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, Michael Gove has told LBC the government wants to eliminate illiteracy and innumeracy among children leaving primary school by 2030. It's one of the goals being outlined as part of the Levelling Up agenda, a